Last Friday, I walked into a café to surprise my wife. She'd told me she was working from home, but when I checked her location, the little blue dot hadn't moved from this café for over 2 hours. I wasn't suspicious, not really. I just thought it would be a sweet gesture to bring her favorite drink, a caramel latte, and maybe give her a little break. So, I grabbed the coffee, pushed open the heavy glass door of the cafe, and stepped inside. And that's when my entire world just tilted. It felt like the ground had literally shifted beneath my feet. There she was, sitting at a cozy corner table, the one by the window with the comfy armchairs. She was laughing, her head tilted back, her eyes sparkling. Her hand was resting on top of someone else's, their fingers intertwined, and the man she was with, he looked exactly like me. I mean, exactly. Same build, same broad shoulders. He had the same short brown haircut, the kind that always gets a little messy in the front. Same neatly trimmed beard. He was even wearing the same dark green jacket I had hanging in my closet at home. It was so identical, so uncanny, that for a split second I genuinely thought I was hallucinating. Maybe it was a reflection, some trick of the light, or maybe the stress of my week was finally making me see things. I blinked, hoping the image would correct itself, that it would snap back into a reality I understood. But it didn't. He was still there. She was still there, smiling at him. My wife didn't see me. She was completely lost in her own little world with him. She was smiling at him in a way. In a way she hadn't smiled at me in years. It was that soft, genuine, unguarded smile that I fell in love with. Seeing it directed at someone else, someone who looked like my reflection, felt like a physical blow. It was a punch to the gut that knocked all the air out of my lungs. Then I saw him lean in closer, his voice a low murmur. But the cafe was quiet enough that I could just barely catch his words. He said, "He'll never know." "You said he barely notices anything." And she giggled. A light, airy sound that used to be my favorite music. Now, it was the sound of my heart shattering into a million tiny, irreparable pieces. "He'll never know. He barely notices anything." The words echoed in my head, a cruel mantra of betrayal. Was that what she thought of me? Oblivious? Stupid? My hands started shaking. I fumbled for my phone, my fingers feeling numb and clumsy. With a trembling thumb, I opened the camera app. I needed proof. I needed to capture this impossible, nightmarish moment to prove to myself later that it wasn't just a bad dream. I aimed the phone, zoomed in just enough, and snapped a photo. The click of the shutter felt deafeningly loud in my ears, but they didn't hear it. They were still locked in their own private universe. I didn't wait for another second. I turned around, the caramel latte still in my other hand, and walked out of the cafe before either of them could look up and see me. The bell above the door chimed softly on my way out, marking my exit from the life I thought I had. That night was the longest night of my life. I sat on the couch in our dark living room, the photo burning a hole in my phone's gallery. I just stared at it, at her smile, at his face, my face. Every time I looked, a fresh wave of nausea and fury washed over me. When my wife finally came home, hours later, she was acting completely normal. She hummed a little tune as she kicked off her shoes, dropped her bag on the floor, and came over to kiss my cheek. "Hey, honey," she said, her voice cheerful. "Sorry, work was just crazy today. Totally swamped, pretending, lying, right to my face." The casualness of it was what hurt the most. I didn't say anything. I just unlocked my phone and turned the screen towards her. I showed her the photo. The color drained from her face. It turned a pale, sickly gray, the color of dust. Her smile vanished, replaced by a mask of pure shock and horror. Her eyes widened, and her mouth fell open. I can explain," she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. The confident, happy woman from the cafe was gone, replaced by this stammering stranger. But before she could string together another word of her inevitable lie, My phone started ringing. It buzzed violently in my hand, the screen lighting up with an unknown number. On pure instinct, I answered it. I put the phone to my ear, my eyes still locked on my wife's panicked face. "Hello," I said, my own voice sounding hoarse and foreign. And then a voice replied, a voice that was identical to my own. It was a chilling, surreal echo. He said, "I think we need to talk." She lied to both of us. I froze. Every muscle in my body went rigid. It was him, the man from the cafe, my clone. The man who had been holding my wife's hand. And he was telling me that she had lied to him, too. What on earth did that mean? The room started spinning again, and I had to grip the arm of the couch to steady myself. What followed was a conversation that completely unraveled the last few years of my life. He wasn't a stranger. He wasn't some random guy who just happened to be my doppelganger. He was her ex-fiancé, the one she had told me about when we first started dating. The one she claimed had moved abroad for a job, and they had just drifted apart. The story she told me was that it was a clean break, a chapter of her life that was long since closed. But that was just another lie in a mountain of them. He hadn't moved away. He had moved to a nearby city. He moved close because she had asked him to. She had told him that she'd made a mistake, that she and I were over. She told me he was gone forever, and she told him that I was the one who was gone. She wasn't just cheating on me with someone new. She was cheating on me with someone from her past, someone she had apparently never, ever let go of. She had been living a double life with two men who looked the same, telling each of us a different story. She had built this elaborate house of cards, and with one photo and one phone call, it had all come crashing down around us. And there I was, standing in the rubble, talking to the ghost of my wife's past, who wore my own face.